Yep, we're on right now.
All right, cool.
How are you doing, Aaron?
Man, just day by day, waiting for things to open up so we can get back to work.
Absolutely. Do me a favor, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, what you do, etc.
Yeah, Aaron Deckert here with Unique Expo Services, and Patrick here has given the opportunity to kind of share a little bit about myself and our company, Unique Expo Services, which we're an exhibit house in Las Vegas, and our corporate office obviously is there. We do work all across the United States. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas myself. Been in this industry of trade shows for the last 17 years, seems like now, maybe a little longer. They all kind of blur and run together.
Right.
Kind of like this lockdown has been since ever it started. Seems like you lose track of the days, and no different than in our industry, you lose track of the years and the shows and um, all the good times we have doing what we do and what we love. But that's what we do at Unique Expo. And the founder, Tom McKenna, who I joined last year, has been thriving with what he's got going on since 2012. Made a full blown effort into an exhibit house,
Nice.
and all the services of labor and design, fabrication, and obviously the project management, program management type of work that entails the trade show business and what we're in.
Absolutely. How's it been out there in Dallas, man? I know how it is out here in Vegas.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy. It's all the same in regards to, I think, how people are getting affected by what's been going on. Obviously, I have a lot of connections in Dallas, born and raised in Dallas, but in this industry in particular too. I'm getting daily phone calls. Hey, how are things going? Let me know when things open up for you. Maybe you can help me out, and vice versa. Everybody's in this together,
Right.
and how we're trying to push forward. So I think that's the bigger thing is we all feel the same pain in our industry, and that's the big question is these associations as they loosen up, they get more of the, I believe, comfort level that can be out there for what we do, and it makes it even harder being the fact that we are the ones in a broader perspective of these events that hold 20, 30, 50,000 people. So that
Yes.
makes it even harder. But I think in Dallas in particular, we've definitely felt it. Um, I know some people I know in particular, they're like, man, I wish the business would open back up. I'm tired of
Right.
doing construction already. And these guys and everybody we work with in our industry, they've known trade shows. That's been the life.
Yes.
So the reverting to the work is going back and doing something that is relatable, and that's what some of these guys are doing, and the ones I'm in contact with and know.
You're right.
But again, we'll get back to it some, and hopefully in the near future as we push forward.
So, when you came up with Unique Expo Services, right? Are you part owner in this? Are you like the owner? What's your position?
Currently not. Tom, whenever we have a history of the company we used to work for together, and
Yes.
he used to do a lot of my sets and a lot of my jobs in the corporate custom world, so to speak. And um, when things changed for him in regard to his next move in career, and he's been around for some 38 years, almost pushing 40 years in the business.
That's a lot.
He, yeah, he always had a particular way and thought process of how he wanted to do things and takes care of a customer. And I think that was the ultimate goal for him as well. Whenever we started talking, as we cross paths in our show schedules and whatnot, and on the show floor,
Yeah.
it just kind of always was there. But again, the conversation never really took place until I think he got to the point to where he just started looking for somebody to reach out to and bring onto the company, into the company. And currently, I was brought in just for the sake of driving some business and building what he has built so far at this point, and share the same values that he brought to the table.
Yes.
But currently, just as a person to help grow the business and the development and business development that I'm currently in. So that's the fun part about it. I've always had the entrepreneur background,
Okay.
and companies I've worked for in the past always had that mentality and so-called leeway, if you will, to
Yeah.
kind of an autonomy to run your own business. So that's where Tom and I got together, and finally came to a decision that it was time to go ahead and make the jump and make a run at what we're currently doing right now.
Perfect. So, what have some of your struggles been trying to find new business during this Corona? Like, if you were going to give a practical piece of advice for someone trying to close business during Corona, what would you give to them?
Well, I think the first thing is patience first, because the hard part and the struggle, I think, is the seeing the messages that come back. And when I
Yeah.
say messages, I'm talking about you reach out to said marketing person or whoever it may be, right? And they may not have that job anymore, and or they'll tell you, I'm looking for a job. So it's going to be a long process, and I can't really say that you're going to get the response that you did before getting the business, going out and trying to search for the business. Trade shows still are going to happen. I see it posted of certain shows that are still, no matter what, they're still on board with it for latter, Q3, Q4 is
Right.
are the ones obviously still out there. They're pushing hard for, but even there's some even before that. Hopefully,
Right.
they stay on the books. So that's just the step by step you got to take, I think, in understanding that we're all dealing with a lot of the same, I guess, recourse from what has happened. And so you kind of have to go into the situation knowing that somebody maybe doesn't have their job, or maybe you can
Yeah.
help them get linked up with somebody else. Who knows? And that's kind of how I've approached it. And being connected on LinkedIn and other networks, or just people I've known in the industry, I try to help them, whether it's a recruiter or whether it's somebody I know in a different company or business. So I again, that's going to be the bigger thing, is seeing where people land and how things can be, pressed a little bit more in towards opening up trade shows. Right now, at this point in time, I still think it's um, a step by step process of, as you're reaching out, getting the temperature of your
Yes.
customers or prospective customers, and having that, I should say, having that, I guess, caring and attitude of, we know where we stand, and not being insincere about
Yeah.
what's going on, what you're doing. I think anybody in that position, and or vice versa, customers on what would be my customers, would be in the same boat. They want to work, they want to get back to work, or they're looking for that work. So I think the faster we can start kind of pulling together, um, and how you approach things, is going to dictate in how fast we get back to where we were. Not saying we'll be there tomorrow or the next year,
Right.
or who knows what time frame it'll be. So that'll be the interesting thing in how we see what is actually dealt with after Q2 is actually ended, I think.
Right. So, to touch more on industry specific, I noticed a lot of our corporate gigs, um, like Amazon, E3, a lot of these are starting to go. They're talking about 60% digital this year or more. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on them going 60% digital for their show?
Well, it's been even more than that. I mean, I know Microsoft did the same thing, and there's a few others that I've even as far out as in October, November,
Yes.
they have currently released, whether it be last week or just yesterday, that I've been reading on. And it's a way to keep things moving, keep people connected. The digital aspect of it. As a matter of fact, I saw somebody post, I think it was a Freeman study, that they were talking about what you just asked specifically. And all it be, what they're trying to do is understandable, but the human face to face connection even right now, me and you looking at each other on a screen will
Yes,
never replace the in-person, physical aspect of the way people meet and interact, right?
absolutely.
And even back in what early 2000s or later 2008, 7, somewhere around there, as they were coming along with all of these post 9/11, and then the housing market, it kind of
Yeah.
crashed, so it hurt the industry of both those times. The holograms on the stage, right? And you
Yes,
people up on the stage, and they were talking about how this could be the next, future for trade shows. And
it's just not the same.
while the ideas are good and they're there, no different than the digital market right now where it sits, it'll never be the same. And it's how people are wired. It's the human aspect and nature of how this world was designed. So
Yes,
I don't think that, yeah, it's going to ever replace it. It's a good way to keep pushing things forward, keep people connected, learning, doing all the things that they do at the shows. But yeah, I still feel the missing link is that human face-to-face interaction.
right. One thing that I like is that that's one of the key focuses on in your company. It seems like you're very positive. You're trying to help people out. You're always trying to network, and you're always looking at the human aspect of it. I love that part. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate you stating that, because it's one of the things that I think no matter what, even in your business and how you project yourself, whether it be your friendships personally, any personal relationships, but it carries on in your nature, your values, what you bring to the table, how you
exactly.
treat people, right? Your name follows you just about everywhere. It doesn't really necessarily matter the name of the company that you're
Yes.
working for. So that's what I've always brought to the workplace, so to speak, but also your personal life, in how you conduct yourself in the whole scheme of things. And I think it goes a long ways whenever, yeah, it's hard to get business in any industry, and what people do to get that business, but to keep the business is another thing. I could slash prices all day long and just do something for free just for the sake of doing it, being on the floor, get the name out there. But it just doesn't go a long way. It doesn't build a lot of value, doesn't build a
Correct.
lot of trust over the years. And I think that's where it's very important to stick with the core values of who you are and how you believe and how you choose to conduct business with your clients, your suppliers, even. So I mean, we all are working together to put a lot of these shows in and out and dealing with many different personalities and aspects. So I think it goes a long ways whenever you have a certain connection and interaction the way people appreciate.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, tell us about one of your big deals, man. Tell us about one of your big shows. Walk us through it. Give us an exciting event for you at Unique Expo Services, man. What was one of the biggest deals you closed so far?
Yeah, I'll say the one of the bigger things that we do, or shows that we're interacted with,
Yes.
um, is RSA is a great show for us, and
What's RSA?
it's the security conference that's held every year in San Francisco. It has to do with nothing but computer security, firewall, cloud-based security for all these large corporations and companies. So it's it's grown quite a bit, actually. I've been attending it for several years, at least 10 plus years. And one of our biggest customers that I'm involved with, they have the same thing, started smaller as a company and just developed and grew. And you have a lot of that on this show.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, when they just finished the the new expansion of Moscone and what they're doing, they've since opened that up to a new corridor that takes you from the south to north halls in the convention center. And it's very interesting to see a lot of these companies that are smaller companies that are kind of putting in between these larger companies that are in the south and north, and it
Yes.
gives them the opportunity to get the traffic and flow. but I recall and remember the, uh, some of these companies that we have currently on the show being those smaller companies. So I
Yeah,
think it's always fun to see that and watch them go to a 30 by 50 that we currently, service and do. And they have since gone to a more private event. They've kind of taken it a little more beyond just the trade show floor in what they do. So it's the stepping stones and process as you see a company like that grow is always, I think, the most enjoyable part. For one, you get to build a relationship with them as they're doing that, but then also seeing them doing that is a great reward to be a part of it, right?
absolutely.
So that's all the ultimate goal for these trade shows and these companies. I mean, they want to get the word out,
Yeah,
and we have several exhibitors on that floor, and I think that's where whether it be a smaller 10 by 10, 10 by 20 to a 30 by 50, or the big production type of a booth, we kind of take that show from start to finish, and a lot of these were our customers that are smaller right now are trying to get to that larger customer maybe that we're dealing with as well.
yes,
So the connections and everything that entails that is just, I think, exciting to watch.
absolutely. There goes that positivity again too. The best part is watching your customers grow. Love it,
Absolutely, yeah.
love it. So, where do you see yourself in 5 years, bud?
I'll be retired in 5 years, sitting on a beach. I wish.
Nice.
I wish.
Yeah,
I've still got a few years. I'm not quite at the 38, pushing 40 years like Tom is, my counterpart, but that's where he'll be probably in 5 years. But in saying that, for me, I would like to be able to help people in what we're doing now through a customer avenue, but also see the business as it is grow for us so that I can help other people that in growing up in this industry, you meet a lot of good minded people, right? And good hearted
absolutely.
people. And it helps you grow, it helps you build character, it helps you understand this business a lot when you are dealing with certain people in the industry that just have been around for a good while and they have a good nature in helping and wanting to help. So it's a twofold thing for me. Obviously, you want to grow as a company and grow, watch your customers grow as well. But I would also take it to the other side to where having people come on board as you grow, as you build, um, and adding on employees. So I would say from where we currently are, having another warehouse. We currently have a warehouse in it's right. It's outside of Henderson. Yeah, it's in Henderson actually, but just right outside of Las Vegas. But still, we already are at the point to where in another year, it'll be let's add on a bigger warehouse or move to a bigger warehouse. But then at that point, looking for another sales guy, looking for another account manager, and as the accounts come on, just watching that grow, that process grow as well. Uh,
That's how I found you, is your warehouse.
yeah, you know what? I mean, that's good. I'm glad you did. I hope many more do. So
That's
that's
how I was prospecting. As I said, I would like to work in the places closest to my home. So I drove around the warehouse area right around where I live. And
yeah,
then I just made a prospect list of all the businesses, then reached out to everyone via social media, LinkedIn,
yeah.
and I didn't ask for anything. I offered to bring them on a show and offered to make posts for them. And I already did the other show for you, and then I brought you on this one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you reaching out. It's a great avenue to meet people, and as you're pointing out what you're pointing out, I'll tell you that you never know where conversations can go.
Absolutely.
People always may look at certain things as an end point to make money, and I think I asked you this. It's like, what's your end game here, right? And you're like, nothing. Just want to share it. Just want to interview you, and let's just talk and have a good conversation. So it's very much appreciated whenever you're approached that way, um, because I think a lot of times people take the approach of this guy's out for something, And ultimately we all are. We got to pay the bills. We got to make a check. You got to take care of the family. That's just
Right.
business in general. But don't come across as just didn't get what I wanted, see you later.
Yeah,
Because you never know how many years down the road that conversation or you and I talking might turn into something that we never even thought about. And it
exactly.
was not even in our minds at that point in time.
And
So
at the end of the day, what's the best business? When you're just sitting around talking and you show them what you could do.
absolutely it is. It definitely goes a long way. And
Right.
I think there's some of that missing within any industry for that matter. Somebody mentioned this to me the other day. They're like, "Have you noticed how many phone calls you don't get anymore, which are all telemarketers and just everybody going through the motions of how they get business and what they do?" And I was like, "Yeah, I said you're right. I said you haven't gotten any of those because I guess they're not working." So, but
Right.
again, taking that model and taking that process, it takes it back to the core, I think, mentality of the human aspect, right? People really connect. They really give you, um, I guess, their full attention whenever they feel the genuineness come through. They
Absolutely.
feel, even if this is not a sales call, even just, reaching out, whatever it is, that people, I think, will respect that and goes way beyond than you could ever just by picking up the phone and say, "Hey, can you buy a booth tomorrow?"
Right.
I can beat this guy. I can beat this guy. I can beat that guy. And yeah, people, that's probably the end game ultimately, but still, you got to bring the value and you got to bring the conversations that people are going to enjoy and
Yeah.
relate to, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of exactly what you did, what you're just talking about.
Oh yeah. Dude, one thing that I was thinking about for you guys is like, have you ever had like an inline booth that someone tried to take over 10 feet and you can't because the association only allows it to be 8?
Yeah.
Okay. So like things like that that people don't realize that like would be very valuable to a small company, because think about how costly that is, because someone who's in an inline booth, they're already being
Oh,
conscious.
yeah.
Then that makes a costly mistake. So if you had like industry nightmares and had like interviews with like little clients and stuff like that, that'd be a great way to take like the same type of platform and be able to use like your current client base to build the first couple episodes and then use it as a prospecting forum to go forward in your industry. You know
No,
what I mean?
that's absolutely, yeah, definitely great advice. And that's something that we currently are still looking at, and like you said, the testimonies and current clients
Yeah.
uh, is something we need to work on a little bit better. I know you had mentioned that about the website when you were looking at our website, so I'd
Yeah.
appreciated some of the back and forth, and um, but just the tidbits and the stuff. As I've mentioned before, this industry is not crazy. I guess that complex, should I say?
Right.
But yet it is, but it's not, and it's a twofold deal. So
Right.
exactly what you just mentioned, there's so many shortcuts, there's so many ways and things to do certain things that just would take shave off, whether it be dollars, whether it be time, whatever it is that it's important to, that person trying to exhibit. I agree 100%.
Yes.
It's something that's just so invaluable to an exhibitor that especially that is not as versed in the industry as we are. Um, so no, that's great words.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you. We're gonna wrap it up. Have a good one, boss.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's great catching up with you. I know we had to cancel and reconvene a couple times, but eventually, it's exactly what you were talking about. Let's just jump on and talk a little bit, chat a little bit. I appreciate that very much, and I wish you the best as you move forward, and
Thank you, boss.
hopefully hope to hear a lot more podcasts that we can be learning from.
Absolutely. Thank you, boss.
All right, you have a great day.
You too.
Take care.